in my last presentation, let me bring that up. We saw how to create three pieces of this architecture: EC2 server, S3 bucket, and MySQL database. So that's the URL here. We saw how to create S3 database, EC2 server, and MySQL database. Today in this presentation we will see how to install a Drupal instance and make that Drupal instance access MySQL database and S3 bucket for storing files. So at this point I will log into my AWS account, go to the management console, and you will see this formidable dashboard, and you should have three things. This is the MySQL database that you created following my previous video here, and one S3 bucket which is here, and one EC2 server. So now we will install a Drupal instance on this machine. So this is the IP address. I copy this. Now I open my putty. So let me change the IP address and save. I log in as EC2 user. So if you had followed my previous video fine, you should see this, that you are able to log in successfully. And let me become root. So you will see me typing bunch of Linux Unix commands. So you don't have to be expert in those commands or know a lot about them. Just follow the commands, and if you are keen, you can on your own study those topics in detail on your own. But just follow, look at my commands, and you will be fine. So at this time, I need to make sure that I'm able to connect to my S3 bucket. So this is the name of my S3 bucket, and my command is this: AWS S3 ls S3 AS3 AWS S3 command to look at the folder, and if it doesn't give me error, that means I'm able to access my S3 bucket from here. So I'll show you how to upload the Drupal software onto that machine. Okay, so the file is here, and now I go to the management console and I choose this and I upload this file that I place there. It's a small file, and I have it here. Now let me go to let me look at the directory of my bucket, and I see that this is here. So now I need to copy this from S3 bucket to my local drive. So the command is this. So now when I do directory, I can look at it here. It is here. Now I need to be able to install Drupal, I need certain software on this machine, and I will install them one by one. Number one is Apache, then PHP, then PHP GD, PHP XML. So we need these three. These are prerequisites for installing Drupal, and one more, MySQL. In fact, two more, PHP MySQL. So you don't have to know all these in to be experts in that, but just follow the instructions. I missed one command, so we have taken care of the prerequisites as far as I can remember for Drupal. And there's one very important directive for EC2 that I will show you. So you see, this is secure Linux. Right now it is in enforcing. I will set it to disabled. I will set this to disabled, and you can study about SC Linux here. There's a nice article on what is security enhanced Linux, but for this presentation I am disabling it. And once you have disabled it, you will have to restart your Linux server. So you can go here, access that instance. It's already selected. I have only one in my account, and you reboot. It says you really want to reboot? Yes, I want to reboot, and it takes 2 to 3 minutes. So I will pause my recording and come back when it is ready. Alright, so we are back, and my instance has restarted. Alright, so let's see. Alright, so at this time, let me see if Apache is running. So this is how you check. And so you can start Apache with this command, and then you can look at the status like this. So when you run this command, service httpd status, you can see that it is running fine. Now I will check if I'm able to connect to my MySQL database. So this will show me that MySQL client is there. Now let me look at my MySQL database and get the details. So this is my MySQL database, and this is the address. So I copy this and I try to connect to MySQL. Let me make my putty screen fit here. So this is the address. I had created a MySQL user, R Verma, and put my password. So if you had set up your database correctly, you should be here at this prompt. So I'll create a database, create database, Drupal AW. It does not like hyphen in the name. Alright, so I have a database here. Called Drupal AWS. Now I need to create a user, and for this you have to make sure that you know the IP address of your server. That was command for Windows. Okay. So you see that this is the IP address of this machine from the inside. So you copy this, I go back and log in, and I create a user. I call it Drupal, create user, Drupal AWS at, and in single quotes I put the IP address, which is here, identified by Drupal AWS. This is a demo database, so I can do something like this, but for your real production server you will have much more complicated password so that people cannot guess it easily. Now let me grant all privileges on Drupal, all privileges on Drupal AWS to this user. Alright, so let's see if Drupal can access. Okay, so I was able to connect, and we will use this to connect to install the Drupal server. So at this time we have the Drupal software here that we downloaded from S3 bucket. So I will unzip this folder here, and I will move all these files to where www.html. So now I go to where www.html, and I see that all these files are there. So to be able to install Drupal, we have to go to this folder, sites, and you see this. So we have to create a directory called files, and we have to create a copy of this default.setting.php, and Apache will be writing to this folder and this file. So we need to change the owner of these to Apache. So I issue this command. So this makes Apache the owner of these files. And once again, you can study in detail about how to install Drupal. There is a lot of good documentation here on how to install. But for this demo, just follow my steps and you will have the same result. So at this time, I will try to access my server over the internet. So this is the public DNS. So you see that it's not able to access this machine because I have not given it privilege to access port 80 on this machine. So I will go back to the console and let me see if I remember where to set the rules. So I have two VPCs and I have these security groups. So this launch 2 is controlling my EC2 instance. So I go to inbound rules and you see that there's a rule for SSH, but there's no rule for port 80, which is the port for HTTP. So I click on edit and I allow access from everywhere. If I wanted to give access only from internal, I could have chosen a different VPC, but not part of this conversation. All right. So now port HTTP will access is available. Let's see if it is any different. So see, now I'm getting the install page for Drupal, and it's happening because this directory is the root of Apache and I have put it here, and in sites default I have these three things. So this time I'll go with standard installation, English, and you see that because all the installations we did, let me show you those commands. So you see, because we installed all this, it's ready for installation. So this time it's asking for my database name. So I will go back to my this is the address. No, wrong place. So the name of the database was Drupal AWS. The username was also the same and the password was same. Advanced option. So the host is this endpoint, which is here. Remove the port. And it's a good idea to put prefix so that you can install more than one Drupal instance in one database. So I put AWS. And if this comes up, that means you had the database configuration correct, the name, the host address, password, etc. All right, so now we have this interface. So I call this demo Drupal. I put my email address for the site email address. I like my email for user ID, and I have this. So take a nice password, default country, because it will be used within the US. So states, save and continue. So at this point, I have a Drupal installation. So if you just this was your purpose, you can stop here. Otherwise, you can continue, and I will show you how to use S3 for this file system path. So you go to configuration, and then you go to file system in media, and you have this. So to be able to use S3, you need to install a module called S3FS. So Drupal module S3FS. So I'll show you how to install and configure this module. So before we do that, there is a nifty tool from Drupal called Drush. From drush.org, and by following these steps, you can install Drush on this. So let's change directory to the root, cd. I think I don't have wget on my this. So I paste this. So drush.phr is there. Okay, I got this. And I cut and paste these two commands. So if you're not conversant with Linux, Unix, this may seem overwhelming, but just follow these steps, commands, and if something is not clear, you can pause my video at that point and retry. So at this time, I go to the root of Apache, which is here, and so in the root, you issue this command, and this will tell you that you are able to that Drush is running fine. So I go to sites, all modules, and right now I have not installed any modules so far. So you issue a command drush in -y s2fs, s3fs. So it's a much easier method to install Drupal modules on Drush, like this. Now you go to S3FS and read the install instruction. So the command they have makes it very easy to complete this installation. So you go to the root of the folder and run this. So again, issue this command, and this command clears all caches. So we go here, let's go to configuration, then we go to modules, and we look for S3FS in the modules, which is here, right at the end. And we go to configuration. So here, how I reached here on the configuration page, I went to S3 file systems and I reached this page. So you see here it has got web service access key, it has web service secret key, or you can use this EC2 instance profile credentials. And what this is, that if you followed my previous video, you have created a role, you have created this role, and you have allowed this role to control the instance. So that's why in our Drupal installation, we don't have to put the key here, which is makes it a more secure installation. And put cache as the cache location. You should remember the bucket name, which is the bucket that we created here. Here, HQSFT. Right? Now go to advanced, and here check this and check this. We're using S3 for both public files and private files. And we put let me call it AWS Drupal as the root folder. And you will see what happens when we have this setting. So nothing went wrong. Now we go to file system and see that this is grayed out, public, and because we are using Amazon storage service. So leave this here. Now we will take one of the content types and we'll add 2 fields. Call this public file and we'll save it on public files. And I want to have 2 types of files being uploaded. You see here selected public files, and I will create one file called private file. Type file, and we'll use private files here. And again, I want to be able to leave. Now I'll try to create a content of that type. So call it AWS demo testing, and I choose one file. This is my teacher, my guru Dr. Alan Wallace when he had gone to my home, and this is my wife and I, and I call it demo testing. Save this, and let me go to my S3 bucket. Here is my S3 bucket, and this is the root. This is the root that we had created here. I go to configuration, and in advanced I have this root here. So it created this root here and two folders within this for private and for public. So this concludes our session on how to set up a Drupal instance on Amazon Cloud and make use of S3 bucket and also MySQL database. Thanks a lot, and please contact me if you have any question, and here's my email address, and write to me. I hope this was useful. Thanks a lot. Thank you. Bye.